Hello, welcome, Laura. This is Laura Barker, beautiful client I've had the pleasure of working with. And she's here to really talk about our recent work together. I've had the honor of reading Laura's beautiful energy and her soul purpose to have her really truly in alignment with her purpose here in her work, in her gifts, in her light. And I just really want to. I'm working very lucidly with Laura because I really want to give expression and that real enormity and the gravity of the impact that we've been creating together. So I'm just going to pass over to Laura. She's just going to introduce what she does and her magic, and then we'll crack on. So welcome, my darling.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Pleasure to be here with you. So I'm Laura Barker. I'm actually in the process of rebranding what it is that I do because there's been such a shift, and I don't have the words for it. So I'm trusting that they'll come. But essentially, I'm a soul healer, moving into mastery in the near future, but also a spiritual educator as well. So I teach as well. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But it is all changing at the moment.
Okay. And was it changing before we met?
It was waiting. Like it was ready to change and I didn't realize it.
Okay, amazing. So just for everyone who knows, who's on here, that we've only had one session and a beautiful magical week of Voxer together, and this is the transformation really that when you're ready and when you're called to step up and create, this is what happens. So without taking that away from you, Laura, and your absolute words, which I know you have, the feelings before we worked together. So just describing what those were feeling like for you.
Okay, so this I was at a point where this was the end of last year, and I was at a point where I decided I was going to take Christmas off and spend it with the family. I said so many times I was going to do that, and I worked through it, and I was like, no, I'm sticking to my boundaries. I'm taking the time off. I prepared a lot of work to run in the background, but as this had started, as we'd moved into December, I was really starting to feel really flappy. It's the only like really descriptive word that can really describe that the essence of how I was feeling, which was really flappy. I had a solidity in where I'd been and where I was at right then, but I was starting to feel the whispers of something new coming forward. There was something more purpose driven, something more focused that was waiting to come in, and I could feel it. And I'd had little ideas, I'd had little wisps, and like there's something here, and I was just waiting, which was probably the worst thing that I could do, for it to show itself to me.
Okay.
And I was getting frustrated because nothing was, and then that was causing more flapping, that was causing more unease. Everything shifted in terms of my energy and my point of attraction, and I was starting to feel really unsure of what I was doing and where I was and what I was here for. So that's essentially where I was. And at that point, if you're in this industry, the amount of Facebook searching and signing up to freebies and doing this and doing that you do, because you're like you're looking for that answer, you're looking for that moment that's like, oh, that sacral pull, that sacral yes, where you're like, oh, this is, and nothing was doing it. And I had been meaning to work with you for a long time, probably since back in the middle of the year before.
Okay.
I'd heard of your work, and I through a mutual friend, and I was like, at some point I'm going to be working with her, but didn't know when. I kept missing you. It was like so busy. You kept popping up here, there, and everywhere, and I kept missing the lives, or kept missing this, and this.
Yeah.
And I caught one, and I was like, I'm staying.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one talk to me. I need to watch this. And what? And from that moment, then
Yeah.
you proofreading, and I was like, this is the time.
Yeah, amazing. And it was a lot work with a lot of people at the right time. So it's a lot of people come to me like yourself that it's divinely time for you for the message and the work we need to do together. So the fact that that was very obviously happening in your world, as much as we like to heal ourselves and release our stuff, and we know how to do that, these things have to have another set of eyes on them to
Absolutely.
really pull things out.
Mm.
And that's really key here, because the fact that you start to go outside of yourself to search for that, or search for answers, or search for that next person that can provide that for you, having already done the work. So I know you do that, Laura. So that's quite key here to say. And the magic that creates from that point, it has been phenomenal for you, and a true honor to actually work and read you. So the reasoning that you've been given there, and then subsequently we got together and we honored the session with a reading, a potent power reading, and the remaining week of Voxer, which was just exactly what we needed. Just tell me how that activated you, because there's a lot in this to unpack.
Yeah.
What you've got forward to share, right?
Yes, I do wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not afraid to overshare. Basically, again, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I kind of knew that I would be given some appropriate and potent and magic. I knew that was going to happen, but I wasn't really aware. When we had our session, I remember you asking me some really deep questions that I wasn't expecting, and I really struggled to answer them. That in itself was like the biggest red resistance flag. I was like, oh shit. Like, oh. And it's stuff that I've been shadow dodging for a long time, and placing it under the rug of, yeah, but I'm okay. Like I can deal with, like, I'm fine. It wasn't that bad. Like, it's like I've been through it. I've spoken through it, done a bit of healing on myself for it. But I don't think I ever really took the lid off it as you did. And then when you said, you know what this is about, and the questions you were trying to help me with, it blew me away. And the word that you used was enoughness. And this has come up for me time and time again. And I've, like I say, I have done some healing work. I've done a lot of work in the gene keys around this. Done a lot of healing on myself and helped myself. But some of the underlying, the thread that was underlying through everything, I hadn't quite gone too deep enough. And the session that we had blew the lid off that. And then that kind of tipped me over the edge into literally about 4 days of tears.
Yeah.
And really sitting with it and really asking myself question after question, and going back, and as memories are popping up, going back and sitting with it and working through consciously, spiritually, emotionally, physically, that huge cracked open spot which I thought I had dealt with and hadn't. And yeah, that was the probably the deepest work that I've done
ever. Yeah. Yeah, because I see your soul's truth, and I have that ability to see people's soul's truth. And it's not easy work, this, to go to places. I must express that it's not easy work to go to, but when you are working as you work and how you work and serving, I know that you said, because this is obviously supported in Voxer during these sessions of uncomfortable release that Laura's experienced. When you're going through that process of this deep release, the reasoning for it was the fact that you felt the disconnect with the attachment to fulfillment in your work.
Absolutely.
So the mirror of that, where I pinpoint my psychic readings and with spirit, is the fact that that deep fulfillment then hasn't been reached within you.
Absolutely.
And it was connecting that back.
Yeah. And it all started making sense.
Yeah. And I know that a key part of this element of our shifts and our transformations, apart from the creation that we'll go on to in a second, is the core connection to yourself and with spirit.
That has been the most important thing, because upon reflection, I realized that I was missing, which was part of that feeling unfulfilled, and it wasn't a deep unfulfillment at that point. It was just, I didn't feel like I was I said to you, didn't I was like, I feel like I need someone to put my hands on my shoulders, and out of all these paths that are here, point me in the right direction, because like I've got it all, I feel good with it all, but I'm really just, I don't have the right.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, that's gone off now. There was no relevance to this, but anyway, sorry. Yeah, so it's almost a disconnect.
Yeah, and that's what I realized when you had brought that forward, and that soul truth. I hadn't processed it, and that is part of my work.
Yeah, massively.
And I hadn't connected the dots. I'd been doing it, but just by chance. But I had the power and the intention the dots hadn't been connected, so there wasn't any intentional power towards that. So that had all been streamlined then.
Yeah.
And then the support that you had every day that I had for that week,
yeah,
was just keeping me steady, grounded, and having some of the questions answered that came up from that was so important.
Yeah.
So important. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's holding you in that place of connection to actually then, because I know that you needed the experience of doing and being in it to actually give your confirmation of it as well. There's a part of, yeah, you can learn all the things, but actually by doing it, you're not going to get that evidence. So it's by being and doing it in the time we had, actually then really confirm those things for you to see it all dot up.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, wow. I know that Laura used a term with me that I'm actually going to title this, which is actually stripped bare, wasn't it, Laura?
Literally naked as the day I was born.
But that's really honouring and enhancing that soul's truth, that soul's remembrance of you as your uniqueness, as you incarnated in this lifetime to create all the things of magic that you will solely and only you create. That's really important here, because that's the connection that I tap into with every one of my readings and people that I work with, to actually streamline that uniqueness to, you know, your light leading, change making, conscious leader, whatever you want to call it, but actually just for you as a soul.
Yes.
As a soul. Yeah. In its unique purity and essence of that, right? So so there was a lot of release work that happened in Voxer. There was a lot of shifting of identities of where you were and where you were becoming, and I know that we're in this transition at the moment. But the integration was really important here, because that was part of the conscious mind becoming used to this new way of being, because it's taking you out of your comfort into discomfort, that release of the work that we're doing and aligning you to your soul's truth. But then you almost have to make it a new normal and identity, which is where we've becoming now in the creation that you've magically manifested By doing all of the things and being in this new way of alignment. Um, just tell us now what's happened in the beautiful creation since.
So in that deep void, that dark period of being stripped bare, it really highlighted the only path that was.
Wow. Okay.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not have been and have felt so vulnerable and so exposed and so raw. Because at that moment, and this was part of the work that you encouraged and was like, you've got to do this, is I had to come back to my own unique connection in the way that I work, not somebody else's. And that is important, that those other
That's fundamental, right?
Yeah. Those tools are part of me. I've absorbed all the things that I need to, but I have a unique way, and that why I was why I was feeling so lost, because I hadn't tapped into me and what I enjoyed, the processes and how that performed for me. So I spent a lot of time in that week and since then, and it's become, I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's become so pivotal, of spending time connecting my own way, and elaborating on that, and then bringing in the work so that I've created this bespoke way of working and helping people. And even at that point, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know whether I was going to be doing this or this, but as I've been doing it, I surrendered more. I surrendered to spirit. I surrendered to source and was like, show me, light me up, show me where it is. So I just literally gave it over and was shown in my way how that works and what it is, which has then allowed me to then trial it with some of my clients who have received incredible healings and channeling readings, monumental stuff. And that whole process has helped me pull in those wisps that were up here that were like, oh, it's like it's given me that core, and the wisps are like, finally, like, here we go, we've got something to go. And now I've got this creation coming in the summer, which is all of this, everything I've learned, everything I do, everything I help people with, all wrapped up in one.
Amazing, Laura.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, and it feels so right. It just feels so grounded, but it's all the dualities in one. Like, it's beautiful, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Oh gosh, well, thank you. It was a joy to co-create with you, honey.
I mean, it's been
what I'm being called to ask you here, and this is maybe fundamental in the way that you'll be working too, is that I'm being called to ask you how you surrendered with spirit.
By sitting and feeling stripped and leaning
in the nicest possible sense, right?
Yeah, and leaving everything there, like not shedding it, not saying, okay, I don't know what it is, I'd get rid of it all. It was like a intentional detachment from who I was at that moment, knowing that I had more to give, knowing that I would be held, knowing that I'm supported beyond what I can comprehend, but allowing my brain, my ego, to just step out of the way and let my soul lead, which I couldn't do had I not have had that session with you and done the deep work. I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it's literally opened the gateway from my soul's truth, my soul's purpose, my soul's essence, to align me to what I'm supposed to be doing to help people in the greatest way that I can, which will still be expanding as I lean into it and do it more and more and more. So and that surrendering had to happen consciously, spiritually, and emotionally for me to just be like, right,
and physically, right?
And trust them, trust what's coming through, because if it comes through and it feels uncomfortable or it feels whatever, and you're not ready to deal with that, it's always going to feel wrong
Yeah.
until that work, and then you can start to listen and be like, okay, I'm listening, and I'll practice and I'll receive the message and do the work, not spiritually bypassing it and just being like, okay.
Yeah, because there is a lot of that. There's a spiritual, I see a lot of it with clients that spiritually bypass, thinking they're doing the things, but actually they're not core connecting like we do. But like my work does do that. It almost, you're plugged in, but you're not fully plugged in properly. And it's just honing down and plugging you in, and you're like, it's almost like all the lights just come up.
Yes, that's such a good way to describe it, because that's what it felt like.
Yeah. And it's really an interesting thing how you've made your awareness about that spiritual bypassing a little bit as well, because that is a part of this, that to get deeper in your soul's knowing and truth, you need to work from that place in order to be in your truth, right?
Yes. Yes. And I knew that it was a big thing. And that didn't scare me. I wasn't overwhelmed by that. I just wanted to know what it was. And
Yeah.
and as a man, Jen, and as a just general human being, patient. I want to know what it is. Want to know what it is now. Like, and I had to surrender to the timing as well. And when I sat and made myself a priority, that was one of the other main things from
Yeah.
this experience. I had to shift everything. I had to shift my weeks, the days I was working, how I was doing my sessions, when I was doing my sessions, because the biggest priority for me was me and my connection. And if I'm not putting the work into that, or I think I am and I'm not, that's my whole business. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
do that.
Really key actually to take from that as well. So moving on now to the creation and maybe like you've just touched on the disciplines that you've now had to doctor into your work, into your life, into your being now. So the practical things that you're now doing that you weren't doing before. Just give us an idea what you're doing with your seriousness of your work now. If
And
you know what I
that's
mean.
what you just said. The seriousness is really key, because I feel like this session, this period, the work that we did together, and the the coming together of soul, spirit, source, and me, has helped me to identify the separation that I was putting into my business.
Yeah.
I was saying that when I've got the full picture, when I do this, then my business will look like this. But I can't operate like that. I can't operate a serious business like that. And that came from a realization of all the work, and the gap I had to close. I had to make sure that that was being continuously and consciously closed in the human form.
Yeah.
And for me, that was operating as a fully established business every single day,
Yeah.
every single choice. So I had to look at my schedule, and I was like, if I'm relying on my channel, and I'm not strengthening that, who runs a business and doesn't invest? Like, no one. So I was like, right, that's the first thing that's got to change. So every single day, it's a non-negotiable that I have soul time, and that is every single day after I've taken the kids to school. I come back, that is the first thing that I do, until I get ready to see my first client. I changed the days that I work so that I've got time. So I've got set days that I have clients on, and I've reinstated my standards and boundaries around that, and that I've given myself an extra day off, because I know that,
Wow.
yeah, the
Amazing.
the work that I'm going to be doing is so important. And I know that it's more tiring than it was before,
Yeah.
energetically. And I'm like, no, I'm putting it out there. I'm taking an extra day off.
Yeah.
So that's been added in. But the creation that's come from it is this soul connection, this life legacy, and my imprint on the world, and how you know, how I teach has changed. How I heal people has really changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I um how I receive my information has deepened beyond my expectation and fast. It's quantum leaped, really. If I
Yeah.
really think about it, and I'm honest with myself, it's quantum leaped in the time that we've had, the
Yeah.
clarity and the potency and the accuracy of the messages that are coming through has,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And,
it.
and you see that now in what you're creating. So just tell us a little bit more about your new creations and excitement that's happening in your world with that, because it's fundamental in the breakthrough of this and expansion from you in your soul's truth and your imprinting that you're going to create with the world. It is such a joy to watch. So I'd love you to share that.
I'm so grateful for you, by the way. Just
You're so welcome.
I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me. I really am.
Oh, you're welcome, babe.
There's not even enough words to carry that. The create it's we're still in creation mode. It's still going.
Of course. We love that, right?
Jinx. So I'm creating a new way of healing. And I'm creating, so I'm the method or the modality that I teach is theta healing. I'm a theta healing instructor, which is very, very integral to the foundations of my work and the foundations of others. Now, the work that I'm using at the moment, and the journey that I've been on about enoughness, will be laced into this work because it's touched everybody at some point in their life. But also the I'm creating an experience for people who are looking for a deeper connection to the work that they do, who are looking for a soul adjustment, so that, very similar to the journey that I've been on, so that they can come back to what they're here to do and their purpose within this industry and within this rapid personal growth and self-growth experience. So theta healing will be a part of that. So people will be certified in it. It comes in two parts. But there's also a second part to that, which is an experience-led container.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's 6 months long. It's called The Becoming.
Of course.
And
really amazing.
and yeah, it's theta healing to start certification, but the latter half of it is about encouraging you to use the tools that you've learned, that you've skilled up in, to combine it with your own unique soul purpose growth journey alignment, and to bring it all together. And there's ceremony work in there. We have a becoming ceremony at the end of it, where we step forward into this kind of soul truth as a person and have a little journey. But the second half of it is it's almost mastermind based, and healing laced into that. So my stamp's all over it, and the way that I do it, but it's an example to show people how that happens, how you incorporate what you've learned, the skills that you've learned.
Yeah, amazing. And
Yourself.
actually embodying the experience of what they've learned and remembered
Yes.
with their own soul's journey, right?
Yeah. It gets confusing when you've got all these modalities, and it's not discrediting them. They're so important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's more.
Of course there is. So yeah, unbelievable, Laura. And a joy, true joy to see it all unfold rapidly as well.
Yeah,
and not discounting the release work, but also the rapid shift of creating from a place that's now in soul's alignment with you is profoundly it's just changed that trajectory of your work, your embodiment of work.
Yeah.
Because it's your work.
Yeah, that's it. And I want to encourage people to do the same. I want to show them how to do that because there are so many people here to help raise and
Yeah,
share consciousness.
yeah,
So lost. Even when we've started doing the work, we've started doing the healings, we've started doing the transformations, we forget about us and what we're here to do, and we get caught up in the swirl of things. And yeah, I wouldn't have been able to have that rapid growth had I not surrendered and sat and given up the time and the concept of time and when that was going to be, and the patience. I wouldn't have been able to have that. So yeah, that release work was um just profound and so monumental and pivotal in this uh becoming.
oh, awesome. Thank you
You
so
can't.
much. Thank you so much.
You're
I
so
think
welcome.
so I think we've covered so many aspects,
Mm.
and just shown the journey on the transformation and what's expected and what isn't expected, and letting go of things that we think we need to hold on to, but actually when you're not working from a place that's core in your connection with spirit, even though you're working with them every day and they're showing you all the things, we're still off slightly, and it's just anchoring into that aligned truth of your soul's calling and your purpose here that gets you all the lights lit up. Because when you go from that place within you, the magic is created for everyone to have and be in your world.
Mm.
And that really is magnetizing and then monetizing your truth and your work
Mm.
big
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. And the financial side, like I was saying to you a little bit earlier, it becomes the vehicle because the service and the intention of that is bigger than the financial
Yeah,
part. That
yeah,
becomes inevitable because it's the vehicle to take you
yeah.
there. But yeah, just so in awe of you and your magical work and all the people
Okay.
helping same like me. It's just it's amazing.
Okay. Thank you, my darling. A true pleasure as always to catch up with you. And for everyone here, Laura will have her details. We'll pop the details with this as well for you to find out a bit more about Laura's work too. So yeah, a pleasure.
Thank you.